Hello, everybody, and welcome to the FloTrack podcast, Paris edition, presented by Wonderful Pistachios. I'm Liv Ekpone, joined with Corey Mall. 9th day in a row together.
Wow.
It's been wild.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. And guys, I feel like today was the most dramatic day out of all the days.
That's recency biased.
I just feel like there was so much that happened on the track today.
A lot of finals. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 finals.
7 finals.
Actually, 8 finals plus the Hep.
Yes, plus the Hep, which we will dive into a little bit. But let's go ahead and talk about what happened. And I think we need to kick off the show talking about this 4x1 because big yikes.
Yeah.
Big yikes. Specifically, the men. They mentioned on the broadcast today, it's been 24 years since we won this title. It's been 20 years since we medaled, and the drought continues for another 4 years.
Yeah, and it's less about, I think, the technical side of it. It's just the matter of fact that we have not found a way to better our failures. Time and time again, it's almost coupling over each cycle, regardless of who you put there in the ranks, who you put there in the lineup. It just keeps happening. I don't know what it is. Is it a curse?
I don't even know what to say. It's been so hard to watch. There should be no reason that the fastest men in the world can't get the stick around. We'll get the stick around, but do it in a clean manner. When I saw the lineup, I was not against who was on this relay. I thought the 4 men, Christian Coleman, Kenny B, Kyra King, Fred Curley, were the right gentlemen to have for this relay. In my personal opinion, because I've been getting texts left and right from different people with different types of feedback, that just me personally, I would have kept the same people in the same order. I would have left Fred on second. The only thing they had to tweak was whatever was going on for Fred during the semis. Like, move the steps a little bit. At least his relay exchange was safe. And I would have put maybe Kenny B on the anchor. That way you only had to change one leg instead of swapping and doing all these different exchanges, because the exchanges were absolutely insane. It was just, I feel like it's just unacceptable. And I get it, like, as someone that's been competing at the collegiate level, like, we practice handoffs starting in December. Like, we do some fun touches here and there. But, like, once spring rolls around, it's like we have those baton exchanges down to the core. People have to take into consideration when they're at these relay camps, like, some of them are working together for the first time. And Bianca Knight, if you haven't listened to her episode, go to the very first one that kick off the Paris edition. Like, she talks about just finding the right people to have the chemistry with. And I thought that Christian Coleman and Fred Curley had great chemistry. Maybe Fred just was a little bit timid coming out during the semis, but I wouldn't have moved him from that spot. And I think there was some speculation of, like, Kenny B, like, moving off of Louis' mark from Great Britain. So that could have played a role. I didn't like how we were set up that way.
Whenever situations like this happen, you have to answer really, really hard questions. This is the most difficult part of a championship meet, when you lose in such a disastrous turn. The question becomes, who's more at play? Coaches, athletes. I think people are kind of tending to sway now a little bit on, like, we need the answers from the coaches. Like, what is happening that is constantly being a reiteration of what happened before? I mean, obviously, there were some mental mistakes here. Mm-hmm. You kind of have to accept that at face value as well. But on a broader level, I think we really have to start asking the coaches, like, how are you preparing these athletes? What is happening to get them ready for the mark?
Yeah.
Literally. How do you fix it? Like, we need to fix it. Carl Lewis, do you want to bring up the tweet?
Can we bring up this tweet? I saw the tweet and I was like, I completely agree with Carl Lewis. And it reads, "It is time to blow up the system. This continues to be completely unacceptable. It is clear that everyone at USATF is more concerned with relationships, keyword there, than winning. No athlete should step on the track and run another relay until this program is changed from top to bottom.
What does that mean exactly? Relationships, concerned more with relationships than winning. What does he mean there?
I'm not in Carl Lewis's head, but for me reading this, I'm thinking there's a lot of relationships that kind of play a role. Like, you know, certain coaches of certain athletes want their athlete to be on a relay. And if I'm assuming if you have better relationships with that coach, hey, put my athlete on this relay, versus what Bianca Knight and Natasha Hastings, everyone has said it. We want to put a relay team together that's going to bring home the gold. And based off what Carl Lewis is saying, again, just going off of how I'm reading it, I think he's saying that the relationships among maybe the coaches of those individual athletes on in the relay pool and those that are in the mix, it should be about winning and not just the relationships that are tied with it. Like, if you're best friends with a coach, is this the right person to put on a relay?
Right.
I think that's what he's trying to say.
It's fair enough. The history, we'll just go over it. As you said, you know, they haven't won a gold since 2000. They were in 37-61 in Sydney back in 2000 to win. Silver in 04, 38-08, beaten by Great Britain. Didn't qualify in 08, disqualified in 12, disqualified in 16, did not qualify in 21, DQ'd this year. We got to get through this at some point.
Yeah, we do. It's tough. Like, I don't even know how we fix it, because I think about after trials, do we just have a quick little camp after trials? Like, if you're in the top 6, just don't expect, or whoever they decide, like, don't plan on leaving the venue. Like, we're going to get some touches in before we go to another relay camp and figure it out. Like, I don't know how we fix it, because I just don't understand. Yeah. Like, I really don't.
And one last part here for me, at least, I think I did want to comment a little bit about how the team reacted upon getting questions about the 4x1 in the mix zone. There was some tension there. There was some very heated tension and some discomfort being asked the same question over and over again. And I really do understand it. You've been through this meat grinder.
Yeah.
You fail. And it eats you up inside. Professional sports, though, I think you're on a platform where you have to hold yourself accountable, even at that highest level, you know, when something doesn't go right. So I feel like some of the guys do have to kind of take away from this, like, how to better communicate following a situation like this. I mean, I don't think reporters are out to get the team after they lose. They just want to understand what happened.
Very key there in what you said. We just want to understand what is in your head. What are you thinking? And I understand, like, it's hard. Like, you're going into this race, this meet, thinking I'm going to win the 4x1 with the gold, right? And I think the team that we had could have done it with or without Noah in this situation. And to be able to just get on the line, you went through all the rounds, like, all these guys had a chance to compete once, twice in the open individual races and also in the relay, and then to all of a sudden not be able to achieve the goal at tasks. We just want to know, what are you thinking? We know how you're probably feeling, but, like, walk us through, like, how we got to this point, you know? And I understand the tension. I can only imagine what it was like being on the ground, having to ask the tough questions. It's challenging, but we just want to know. Like, not all media personnel are out there to get people, for sure. Yeah. But on a lighter note, to kind of just talk about the top 3 finishers, we did have Canada with Aaron Brown, Jerome Blake, Brendan Rodney, and Andre DeGrasse anchoring that relay home, 37:50. South Africa set a new area record by grabbing the silver medal in a 37:57. Great Britain, 37:61. I love those pictures of Canada. They were just embracing the moment, and they were in the outside lanes too, so pretty much had to run blindly that whole entire competition.
Canada finds a way.
Yes.
They have proven that they are a commodity on this stage in the sprint. So I'm glad that DeGrasse in particular was able to bring it home again. South Africa and Great Britain, second and third. We had 2 Houston teammates on 2 different countries, teams.
Oh, that's right.
Maswagani Louis Hinchliff. They met with Carl Lewis, their coach, afterward, and they both walk away with a medal after their performance.
That's incredible. But what we can say after all this is the women got the job done, and we talked about it yesterday. I didn't see them switching the order. I thought the order was perfect. The individuals on that relay, we knew that they can get it done. So Melissa Jefferson, TT Terry, Gabby Thomas, and of course, Sha'Carri Richardson bringing home for the gold. Rocky handoffs. I did get a little nervous, and I love this photo of Sha'Carri just kind of looking over like, ladies, look out. America's bulldozing through 41.78. Great Britain 41.85, and then Germany 41.97. And I must say, I think the best handoff for this whole competition was Melissa to TT Terry, and TT Terry just like blew up that backstretch. Like, she has, for me, proven that she deserves to stay on the second leg. Melissa Jefferson is like Christian Coleman to me. You never move either one of them off the first leg. They just have that great chemistry. We definitely saw that today.
You can tell they're teammates.
Obviously, yeah.
2 straight beautiful handoffs from them. Awesome work for them. The only trouble really is the inbound Terry to Thomas, outbound. But that being said, they still improved from their first round, their semifinal to their final, even though last handoff was a little shaky. Sha'Carri knows what to do in that situation. It tends to like examine the area. She looked over in the semifinal to her competitor. She did it again in the final. She does it. That's what she does.
That's what she does.
But they win a gold medal. My one thought here is, and I think this team will get more chances in the future, but the only thing I was underwhelmed with was the time itself, the performance. Yeah. I think this team was capable of a top 10 U.S. 4x1 performance all time. 41.56 is sort of the marker of demarcation for top 10 times in history, and they weren't there yet, but I think they could get there. These 3 women in particular, Richardson, Jefferson, and Terry, I think are going to develop a strong union there. And I think, putting Thomas off there, a gold medalist, is a great teammate. I think we can chip away.
We got to also take into consideration, too, they were running through a downpour rain. Also with the...
Was it downpour?
It was downpour rain.
Okay.
And even when we were texting Ashley, I was like, is it rain? She's like, it's bad.
Okay.
So I know during the 4x1s, it was like...
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
And I think it lessened up after. Yeah. So I think if we had better conditions...
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think we probably would have seen something a little bit faster, but the fact that we had everyone on that relay earned a medal in their individual races, and then now as a team, it just shows the depth and the chemistry that we have. Like, those ladies got the job done. Speaking of getting the job done as well, Rai Benjamin in the 400-meter hurdles, the most anticipated race, I think, in the Olympics going into this day. You had Alison DeSantos, Carson Warholm, Rai Benjamin. What did you take away from Rai Benjamin in this race today?
I think in a lot of ways he mirrored Keely Hodgkinson, who always played the bridesmaid, never the bride. He always kind of played the groomsman and never the groom. He had come up second a number of times. This was his time to take it by the horns, as they say, and grab the race. And he did that. He finally got his gold medal, ran a really beautiful, race overall. We both watched it after, maybe the 6th hurdle he started to finally go. He was, I think on the broadcast they were commenting in terms of like they felt like he was almost trying to hold himself back in the first 200, just to make sure that he had that gusto in the final curve and in the straightaway. And I think he really broke Warholm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was definitely toward the later stages of the race. They were pretty much even up until the 200-meter mark. But then as the race continued, as you mentioned, Benjamin definitely started to shake up Warholm a little bit, and Warholm couldn't respond. Also, Dos Santos, I applaud him because he was out in lane 3, and I know he was one of the smaller queues to kind of get in. Like, he didn't have the automatic position, so he had to be on either the outside or inside. So he had to pretty much had everyone that he was able to watch. He could see Benjamin, he could see Warholm and what they were doing. and then just coming off that turn, just like holding on for that bronze. But Rai Benjamin, 46.46, finally gets that gold. Warholm 47.06 and Dos Santos 47.26. This pretty much played out how I thought.
Yeah. I changed my mind yesterday about this.
You did.
I did put it in Benjamin's hand at that point just because of what I saw. And you commented in the office a little bit about this wasn't exactly what we expected. We thought it was going to be closer.
I thought it was going to be closer.
But in this situation, I almost applaud Rai for the race strategy that he employed and how he was able to really press on Warholm and to break world champion from last year, world record holder. That is hard to do. That is very hard to do. And he put everything in motion and he got it done. So obviously it wasn't the competitive race in certain terms that we expected, but at the end of the day, he got that win.
Yeah, I definitely was expecting Warholm to be a little bit closer than where he kind of was coming off the turn. But again, it's the Olympics. You're going for the gold. Like, you're just going for it. Time doesn't matter. I wish it was a little bit faster, my personal opinion. I was getting text messages that they were like, a world record's going to fall. It's going to fall in this race. And I was like, honestly, I could feel it happening. I could see it happening. And you know, it didn't happen today. That does not mean it can't happen in the future. I think that 400-meter hurdle world record is still in jeopardy as long as these three men and even Rai are still getting after it. We should definitely keep a lookout for it. Do you agree or disagree with me?
I agree. And I want to call out CJ Allen too. He did not get into the final, but in his interview after the semi, he was talking about how he believes he is a podium runner. He has podium potential in the 400-meter hurdles. So I think in a couple of years, things obviously can change. You know, new athletes can enter into the mix and insert themselves here because I think Rai's 27. He's in his peak. I think he's got another 4 years to again solidify himself. He's clearly there. But
agreed.
I think a lot of things can happen in 4 years.
Right. Now let's take away the hurdles and let's think about the flat 400-meter, because I thought this was probably the next race up in line. You had Paulino, Elosil Nasser, Natalia Kazmarek, Alexis Holmes, Rashida Adeleke, Amber Anning. We talked about how this was going to be a great final. What was most impressive to me was the top three women all dipped under 49 seconds, and Paulino actually made history today. She won the first gold medal for the Dominican Republic in any sport, and also this was the first time that all 8 women in the final have dipped under 50 seconds. So just put that in perspective of how incredibly fast this race was. I called for Paulino to get second. I had Nasser winning, but the way Paulino attacked that backstretch and came off the turn, I don't think Nasser had any opportunity to kind of respond. She wasn't really able to go with her. Paulino wins that title with a 48.17. Nasser was second with a 48.53, and then Kazmarek 48.98. What can we take away, and what are our thoughts from the top 3 finishes there?
Well, kudos to you for your picks. I was completely off base on my.
You didn't even have Paulino in there.
I didn't. I didn't have Paulino at second. I thought I picked Paulino. Maybe I picked Nasser. I don't know.
You had Rashida Adeleke. I knew that. And she just missed the podium.
I went Adeleke win, but off the mark. Holmes off the mark. I had her for bronze. I don't remember who I had second, but obviously silenced everyone in this race, was the dominant figure that she was. I think this was her time to win. She is 27 years old. And unlike most other events, the 400 is so stressful on your body. And I think it takes so much to run this at the highest level. So this was her time to win an Olympic gold, and I'm glad that she did do that. Now, when we're looking at the future of the 400 meters in the women's ranks, you already have a handful of women that were in contention here. Nikisha Price, as you had earlier mentioned in the week, who didn't even make the final, is going to be in the hunt here in the future. You got Amber Anning, Alexis Holmes, Adeleke, and to be determined next wave of runners. So I will say, like, she won this race, when it was right in front of her, but you cannot guarantee anything from this point forward. Just got to keep working. But I think the 400 is set for a huge change, I think.
Looking deeper into just the times themselves, Rashida Adeleke, 49.28, just missing the podium. Amber Anning actually broke a national record, 49.29. And then Alexis Holmes went 49.77 to set a personal best.
And she was mad.
She was mad.
Yeah.
Of course, like, you want to go into it and you're like, I'm getting on the podium.
Mm-hmm.
But still, leaving Paris with a personal best in probably one of the stiffest 400-meter finals we have seen in such a long time, I would have personally been elated. But I understand, like, you're going there and you're running for a medal.
That's the competitor in everybody.
Yes.
Right. In the days to come, you'll obviously reconcile like what you accomplished, and you can kind of come to terms with how well you did. But in the moment, it hurts.
Yeah, in the moment. I think give her a week and she'll be like, wow, I made it to an Olympic final in the first Olympic Games that she's ever made.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Paulino can, in another 4 years, I mean, next year, maybe given she's still sort of right there in her sort of peak, but like in 4 years, do you still see Paulino ready to contend for an Olympic title?
I definitely do.
Okay.
If the hunger is still there and she's willing to continue to train at the level that she's at, I say, why not? I want to see her again competing in the next 4 years. Because like you said, I feel like we're seeing fresh, new faces. Like, we've never talked about Amber Anning last Olympics. Like, these are all new faces that I think are going to be here for some time. They're young, they're talented. So I want Paulina to still be in that mix. I want her to also defend this title again too. So I say, why not? We saw history once again in the women's 10K. This was quite interesting. We were just kind of all watching, and then I think it definitely shook up. Like, the last, I want to say maybe 2 miles, so about a mile in, but Beatrice Chebet completes the Olympic distance double in the 5K and the 10K, clocks at 30:43:25. She became the first Kenyan to win the gold in this event. Are we surprised by this with Chebet?
No.
Love to hear that.
No.
That's great. And then I was impressed with the Italian, Nadia Badaletti. She was fourth in the 5K and broke the national record of 30:43:35. And this was Italy's first medal in this event, actually. And we have this photo up here, but if you look very closely at her spike, it was actually coming apart of what we, that's what we're kind of taking away from this image. She was kind of limping off the track too. So I don't know if her spike was taped up or what was going on, but you can definitely see some separation in her spike. So I don't know when it happened, but coming across that finish line, you can just see it in her face of, wow, I actually just did this. But nonetheless, great performance there. And then Safan Hassan earning her second bronze at this year's Olympics, 30:44:12. Wow. Just a last crazy 400. But I also want to give kudos to our girl, Parker Valby. What are your thoughts on Parker Valby? Kind of scared us a little bit in the beginning based off what they were telling us from the broadcast.
Yeah, I wanted to start with Parker Valby in the
let's start
beginning.
there.
He terrified us.
Yes.
We thought that she was in that second alley and she crossed the midline essentially and was up for disqualification. Eventually, we got back to a little bit of a replay and we discovered that she was all good, right? She was supposed to be in that first alley in the first place, so all peachy there. And Parker Valby took a risk at the end of this race too. Took the lead at one point with four laps to go.
Yes.
Typical Parker fashion. We love Parker Valby being risk-taking.
Yes.
And dominant. So, the Americans all finished really within a pack of one another. I think, what was it, 8th, 9th, and 10th?
11th.
11th?
For Valby.
Okay. So, impressive for them because this is a huge stage. And hopefully, Parker, we can continue to see her on this world stage because I think people love to see her. The Italian Battacletti, this is an interesting point in her career, taking home a silver, getting a fourth place finish in the 5K, both national records. You look at the world rankings overall in these distances, they're littered by Ethiopians and African nations. Like, Italy's not there. Europeans really aren't there. I mean, can she start to move up and sort of put her name among them, right? Obviously, like, time is a different, I think, stance than winning medals. But I think, she definitely became a huge name here by finishing the way she did across both of those distances.
Yes. I think I want to ask a question. Safan Hassan, as we know, 5K, 10K marathon triple. We have 2 medals so far. Do we see a 3rd medal coming Sunday morning for us?
I mean, that is such
So hard.
hard.
So tough.
That is such a hard return to the road, by the way.
Yes.
Not on the track, on the road.
Yes.
On the road. I think she's built tough like a Ford. Built tough. But I don't know. I just want her to finish, really. She's run 2:13 and 2:18 in the marathon over her first 2 attempts at it. She's really, really good. But and I think she measured the 10K and the 5K pretty well, but she already has 12 plus miles on her legs across races.
Yeah.
Now you put more on it. I think that is one of the most miraculous things if she was able to finish the marathon that we'll ever see.
Just finish.
Yes. I mean, I think she could be top 10. She might even, Safan Hassan. I don't know.
It is Safan Hassan. It's just, you never know what you're going to get from her that day. Like, she could either like grab all the medals or finish within that top, percentile of the competitors there. I'm rooting for her. And as I mentioned multiple times leading into the Olympics, Safan Hassan, when she made the announcement that she was going for like the triple, like, she's just a curious individual. Like, she just wants to test herself. That's what keeps her in the sport. Like, she just wants to be engaged in that kind of way. So I'm rooting for her. I'm also hoping that she finishes, like, to even think about midnight our time here, Central Time. Like, she's going to be on the track Sunday morning. Like, it's Friday night here. She'll have a whole day and then hits the road for a marathon. There's no way you couldn't pay me enough to do that. Absolutely not. My body would be breaking down.
Yeah,
I'm not
luckily we're not running the marathon.
Yes.
Luckily we're not.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about the women's heptathlon final. This was a very great competition across the board. Belgium got 2 medalists in this event here today, but Belgium's Nafi Thiam actually defended her title and became the first athlete in history to win 3 Olympic gold medals in the combined events, earned 6,880 points. Katrina Johnson-Thompson was second with 6,844 points. And then Thiam's teammate, Nora Witz, scored 6,707 points. So it essentially came down, of course, to the 800. We were cheering for Anna Hall to get on the podium, but finishes 5th with 6,615 points. And then her fellow teammate, Talia Brooks, was 11th, just 6,000, roughly over 200 points there, too. So great competition across the board over the last 2 days.
Baller.
Yeah.
Legendary.
Yeah.
First to 3. I mean, what else do you say?
I don't think there's anything.
I think it's amazing what she's been able to do over the last 12 years of her career to hold on like this. You don't see that across sports hardly ever. You look at other sports, athletes staying within that Olympic cycle, getting on teams every single year across, whether it's basketball, gymnastics, soccer, ping pong, whatever. Like, that's very, very hard to do. And she's doing the multis.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
I really applaud the multis. I don't know how they do it. All those events over 2 periods, 2 days, it's tough. So the fact that we were able to see that from Nafi there was just incredible. Just creating history and breaking history the way that she's doing. So I think we'll see her for a couple more years, continues to thrive. And just looking forward to what's next for her. Men's triple jump. Again, we just saw a lot of history being made here today. Jordan Alejandro Diaz-Fortin claimed the gold earlier today, became the first Spanish man to win a senior global title in this event. He jumped 17.86 meters. Pedro Percado jumped 17.84 there, just missing that gold medal title there. And then Andy Diaz Hernandez 17.64 for the bronze.
Hey, great top three there. I will say, so Jaden Hebert just missed the podium here by 3 millimeters, it looks like, from Jamaica. But he said in the mixed zone, I think 2 days ago during their first round, that it took another level for him even to be here at the Olympics, and he was just grateful to be able to compete. His doctor cleared him right before the start, and so Jaden's a really incredible performer that we'll probably see on this global stage in the future. So good stuff from him.
Yes. All right, Corey, the final that was today was the women's shot put. And I loved how we were able to see part of that competition because it came literally down to the wire. It came down to the final throw. But Yasemi Uganale had the throw of her life. The world indoor silver medalist threw 20 meters in the final round to edge out Madison Lee Wetch who threw 1986 meters. Song Jiang threw 1932. Jada Ross just misses the podium by 4 centimeters with the throw of 1928. And then Raven Saunders was 11th. Overall was 1779. I just want to give a huge shout out to Yemisi. Like, to be able to step into that ring on your sixth and final throw and to just see her face on the broadcast, like she's just covering her mouth and was just in disbelief how far she threw and that she was able to come away with the gold. And I think that's what this whole sport is about. It's just having those special moments inside the venue was just incredible.
And a larger point about field events that matter, you get moments like this. We've seen it time and time again here in Paris where amazing things take place in special seconds. And I think the field events are a little bit at stake here within the sport. I think a story just came out today or yesterday on Front Office Sports, which was talking a little bit about the division of track and field events in the future, with everything that's kind of coming down the pike with new events for our sport, and field events are at stake here. So this proved to me that field events matter, that they're worthy, that we should highlight them, that we should spotlight them. We have incredible global athletes that are performing in front of our eyes. We need to find a way to include field events.
Absolutely. 1,000% agree. All right, Corey, the last segment of our show are the highlights from today's competition. And of course, one of the biggest highlights was the men's 4x4. We saw Botswana versus USA in the sections. I set my alarm for 3:15 a.m. to make sure I saw Quincy Wilson step on the track. And Quincy led off this team with a 47.30. You had Vernon Norwood with a very nice carry of 43.60. Bryce Dedman did a fantastic job on that third leg, 44.20. Chris Bailey brought us home, 44.05. I want to give a huge shout out to all the Americans on that team, but also for Tobago, who led off Botswana, literally opened up that whole entire race. And I think we talked about this yesterday or the day before. Whenever we talked about Tobago, I just want to see him LA 2028 in the 400. That's all I'm asking. That's my Christmas wish list right there. Yeah. That's what I want.
44.4, less than 24 hours after a 200-meter title. And he looked in cruise control to a certain extent while he was doing it. So that was really, really impressive to see Tobago out there. It may have intimidated some people. I feel like the whole field, like, what? That's Tobago out there?
Yeah.
That was a late change. Botswana did not have him in the lineup. And then they said, well, okay, we'll put him on. You want to go? Let's see. You want to go? Okay, sure.
Yeah, sure. Because when you look at it, like, they have, as you mentioned, the start list, so you can kind of scroll over to see who's supposed to run what leg. I'm like, that's not who this athlete is. Yeah. That's Tobago out there running that first leg.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. LA, I'm waiting. Yeah. I'm waiting. But I know Quincy with that 47, he's had a very long season, and I'm beyond proud that he was able to be a part of some relay. That was honestly just my wish for this Olympics for him. He can officially say he's an Olympian, touch the track, and as we look forward to the final tomorrow, I can't believe it's going to be tomorrow. I'm looking to see how well the Americans do. Do you have a prediction of who you think is going to be on this relay now now that we're coming down to the wire. Everyone's kind of.
I don't know what I can believe on social media. I have been reading a little bit about how USA is in a pickle a little bit. There are some injury concerns overall. And so I think they will keep Norwood, Deadman, and Bailey. And I would think if Benjamin's available, they might insert him there with where Quincy was. That's my prediction. But, I don't know. It could.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of rumors and speculations going around.
Yeah.
I think in a healthy scenario, I would have no order in particular. Vernon Norwood, I think, has proven over from the mixed relay over to today that he needs to be on this relay. I also like Rai Benjamin being a part of it. Quincy Hall, I would love to see on there.
Well, that's what I was reading, that he might not be.
That's why I said in a healthy situation. Okay. That's why I was like, if everyone is good, this is how I would kind of see it, with Quincy Hall being on there and then with Bryce Deadman. Now, if Quincy Hall is not able to compete, then I pretty much agree with what you're saying. Have Chris Bailey be a part of that. Bryce Deadman, Vernon Norwood, and who was the other one I mentioned? Rai Benjamin. Yeah. Rai Benjamin. But yeah, teamwork makes the dream work. They just trucked away, and great experience overall.
Well, Liv, we need to talk about Quincy.
Yeah.
I think looking at his performance for the first time, he walks away, and it's definitely not what he wanted.
Right, absolutely.
It's a big situation, and you got to feel for him being in his situation, put on a very big stage. He earned the chance to compete for U.S., and they gave him the stick, and I think everybody applauds him for that. Yes. I think getting out there and performing is what matters. I think what Quincy, how he needs to look at this really is like how much a team can help build you up.
Yes.
Because so much of this season has been about Quincy. He has been the story, has been the headliner, and rightfully so. But they taught him today that, like, if there is a moment when you are down, they have to bring him up. Vernon Norwood is twice the age of Quincy. He's 32. He was 16 when Quincy was born. That man, I think, deserves so much credit as a mentor and as someone who's inspiring, I think, at this point for him, because he said, young man, I'll do the work. I'll make up for it. And I think you got to just take away that, like, this speaks to why 4x4s are a team. Like, why coaches always talk about 4x4s more than one man. It's not the Olympic stage, which is a higher level, but I think, that's the biggest thing. You don't have your best moment. You don't have what you want, but the bigger takeaway is what you learn from that experience.
I 1000% agree. Just watching Norwood on the track kind of like encourage Quincy, it's going to be okay. Like, we've all had those moments. This just happened to be one of Quincy's moments, and it happened to be at the Olympics. What you can take away is the experience, and I think not just with Team USA, but I know the Bullis School always is going to have Quincy Wilson's back regardless. Right. They've been preaching about we are family. So when he goes back to Maryland, regardless, they're going to embrace him, encourage him, and lift him up, because he's been the one that has been essentially having to carry kind of a huge load as a 16-year-old. We've seen him compete at the VA Showcase. We've seen him compete at New Balance National Indoors. We've seen him at Penn with the team that was literally on the ground. He was like, hey, I'm going to be the guy that's going to help bring this team up. And I like how you put in that perspective of this is now a turn. Like, this team needs to raise up Quincy. And I think we are seeing that. And he's surrounded by incredible gentlemen who are veterans, who have that experience and who have been in similar situations as Quincy, to be like, hey, man, it's okay. Mm-hmm. Like, we're in the finals. That's all that matters. Mm-hmm. We're good. No worries. So, yes, I am not concerned with Quincy Wilson whatsoever. I know he has an amazing support system. And, man, this kid has been running for a very long time now. This has been a long high school year for him, and it's been a very memorable one. So I think he can look back on this year and be like, this was an amazing year. And he has nothing to have his head down about.
He's the youngest Olympian ever for the U.S.
Right.
He got to the Olympics.
Yes.
It's beyond amazing.
I love it. Also, we had the women's 4x4. Nothing really crazy when it comes to the Americans. Quinera Hayes, Shamir Little, Aaliyah Butler, Kaylin Brown. Go around, finish, cross the finish line 3:21:48. I want to kind of highlight the other teams that have made it into the final. You have Great Britain, France, Jamaica, Belgium, Netherlands. They did that without Fem Kabul, taking that into consideration. I was so pumped to see Ireland making it in. They did not have Rashida Adeleke, so I'm assuming she's going to be swapped in to be able to compete. And you also have Canada, who will be in the mix as well tomorrow night. So any surprises with the women?
I think they looked incredible out there. Those 4 women ran their hearts out. And I think if you put them out there again in the final, they could win a gold medal. I think there will be some changes for the 4x4 in the U.S. to make them even more dominant in the final. But yeah. I think those 4 women today ran incredible.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I think Cindy will be on there. Kaylin Brown, I think, has done a great job. Shamir has done a great job. But I feel like the women's team is harder for me to kind of pick because there's just so many potentials. Like, I can even see Anna Cockrell potentially.
Right. We talked about this yesterday. Cockrell, Gabby Thomas, Sydney. Like, yes. Yeah. But regardless of who they put out there, I think they will be the team to beat.
Absolutely. I agree. So looking forward to tomorrow. The men's marathon kicks off at 1 a.m. our time, Central Time. We're going to have finals of the men's high jump and the 800 meters. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be exciting. Women's javelin, the women's 100-meter hurdles will also be tomorrow. All the rest.
Can I get your pick for the 100-meter hurdles? One woman, who's winning it? Go.
I'm sticking with it, Grace Stark. That's been my girl from the start.
You didn't pick Grace Stark. You did not pick.
Did.
No, you did not.
I picked Grace Stark.
No, you did not.
I thought she looked great.
No, you did not.
Yes, I said she looked great. And then the first round, she just needed to clean it up. It did not look good.
She was not your Olympic gold medalist.
Yes, she was. We need to find the clip. I did say Grace Stark.
Okay.
I said Grace Stark after she ran in Gainesville and beat Masai Russell and Toby. Okay. I was like, okay, I think Grace Stark is now my pick.
Okay.
So I can't remember who I had originally, but I remember switching it after the Holloway Pro Classic.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm sticking with her. Who's your pick?
Well, I am also on the Grace Stark train. I think she has a very good opportunity to win. I think just her confidence, her momentum, her win, I think her ability to win is just so high right now. So I'm going to pick her.
Are the Americans going to sweep? I guess that's my next question.
No.
Who's going to break it up?
I think Kara Nugent of Jamaica has a strong possibility here. Jasmine Camacho Quinn, actually. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think Camacho Quinn might have the best chance to break the Americans up.
Okay. I like that. I'm voting for the U.S. sweep, though. I am voting for that. All right, with the women's 100, men's 5K. That's going to be great. We also have the women's 1500 tomorrow. And then, of course, 4x4. So, again, it's going to be one of those days. It's about to be wild. I'm about to be glued to the TV once again for another day. And then the final day is the women's marathon.
I'm trying to find out right now the medal count for U.S., but it's very high. It's
pure domination at this point.
Yeah, they're dominating. So in athletics, they have, it looks like 29 total medals, including 11 gold, 10 silver, 8 bronze. They are dominating.
Pure domination.
Yeah.
This was a year of just, that's all I can describe it, domination. U.S. has been looking good. I know we talked about Jamaica. It's just been rough for them too.
A little down.
But hopefully next time, for U.S., we got to be up on top too.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, that does it for this podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please like, subscribe. Again, stay tuned to all of our social media because we are dropping great stuff from content that's going on, but also Brian and Ashley and Ryan Fenton have been grabbing great interviews from medalists as well that are there. So again, just share with everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you again tomorrow.